workshop. Who have we got? Simon Rule, by the looks of it. Right, let me just catch up and get this one fired up. Good morning, Simon. Hope you're all good, matey. Bit of snow, I believe. Oh, let it snow, right? Oh, it hasn't done it yet. Hang on, one more go. Boom. There we go. Excellent stuff. Well, it's busy. It's been a very busy last couple of weeks, to be fair, and I'm way behind on these workstations. A lot more work than I planned, to be fair. Simon says, morning, Andy and crew. Good job, mate. Jim K, congratulations on your new Mercedes. Thank you, Jim. For those that don't yet know, and quite a few of you have sent me messages, so clearly you do know, but last weekend, my Facebook was hacked. My Andy Mechanic email was hacked. And my Instagram account was hacked, all within the space of about half an hour. Obviously, you know, the criminal that did one did all three. I managed to get my Facebook back on track, and fortunately my emails too. But my Instagram eludes me. The culprit has changed the email address in the profile. So whenever I go to try and reclaim my Instagram account and reset the password to log in, he gets, or she gets, the culprit, the ruffian, the convict, gets the password, not me, because it's their email address, not mine. And I've had a read through Instagram, and it just seems extremely difficult to get your own profile back. Work in progress. I've been too busy to really focus on it. I tried a couple of times, just didn't work. So I need to revisit that at some point when I have time. But for now, you can learn all about Bitcoin and how you can end up buying yourself a brand new Mercedes car and earning lots and lots of money. Even Alan, my boss, rang me up one day saying, when are you leaving work and handing your notice in? Because obviously you're making way too much money doing Bitcoin. Thanks, Alan. Appreciate that. It's not always about the money. But anyway, it was in jest, obviously. But yeah, it's very, very annoying. The Real Daz 03 Countdown Pies. I think you can get them from Countdown. You're right. We've had them from Countdown before. This one came from the village not far from us, to be fair, just down the road. Mrs. Mechanic bought it yesterday. So we've had a few Maketu Pies. They're all right, I suppose. We've not done a mince and cheese. So Mrs. Mechanic rang me up during her shopping trip saying, have you done this one? And I was like, check the board. Nope, you can get that. So we'll do that one tomorrow. Sheldon, good morning, Andy, Marmite and crew. Well, Mrs. Mechanic's still in bed with Marmite, so it's just me that's in the land of the living at the moment. Good morning, Sheldon. I still haven't pulled the motor off your mill yet. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe next weekend. I don't know. I'll get around to it. The Giant, good evening, Andy and crew. Hope all is well, watching from South Africa. The Giant, I'm all good. Bit knackered. Been a really busy week, to be fair. I had to go quite a bit of driving, actually. So when was it? Monday. Yes, Monday I drove over to Gisborne. Now, Gisborne is right on the east coast. It's the furthest east city that we've got here in New Zealand. It gets really light really early in the morning, so of course you get up early, which is just a real pain. And then on the Tuesday, I had a couple of visits to do on the way there, and on the Tuesday I went onto a farm, a huge station in the middle of nowhere. I had to basically backtrack about an hour into the mountains. Phone signal left me about 50 k's from my destination, so I was a long way from any kind of communication. There was no internet, no phone, no nothing. Got onto farm, and there was two parts to the trip. One was to do like an environmental capture. So I just chucked the GoPro on the ROV, and one of the lads took me around the farm, and we were gone a good couple of hours, and we got lots of footage, and it was really interesting, and it's amazing just how rugged the terrain is over there. And that's what I wanted to capture on the camera. And then the second part, which I think I started about 11 o'clock because I was there pretty early. The second part, so I started filming about maybe half past 11. I started by the time I set the cameras up. And I was basically doing some off-road driving techniques to camera. Very difficult on your own, but anyway, for ROVs. And the last part of the day was to cover safe winching practice. So the do's and don'ts of winching, how to use a winch, just the basic stuff, nothing too technical. But I was going to include using a snatch block, a pulley, and tree strops and shackles and all that kind of thing. And well, so I took the vehicle, found a perfect place for the filming, and it was a pretty much a flat paddock that had a stream running through the middle, but the stream was like within the bog. So there was maybe a 10-foot wide sort of boggy bit in the middle of this paddock. Perfect. It's only about 15 feet, 20 feet away from a nice big tree. We'll have that. So, headed towards the tree. Obviously, the ROV just sunk and got stuck, which was perfect. And then came to start to do some filming and, set the snatch block up against the tree and stuff. And I came to winch the cable out from spool the cable out from the winch. And the free spool didn't work. I was like, no, okay, fair enough. Maybe it's a bit corroded and it's a bit jammed. So we'll have to spool it out with the motor, right? So I plugged in the lance and turned on the isolation switch and everything. Nothing. Not even a click. Just dead in the water. Ugh. And of course, all my tools are up in my ute, which is about 2 k's away, uphill as well. So that wasn't really an option. So I rummaged around in the glove box and found the original toolkit for the ROV. Luckily, it was still there. Grabbed a couple of spanners, not to use as spanners. And I delved down to the contactor block, the relay that controls the winch. And we've done a bit of work on those. So I thought, maybe I could just manually control the relay. Not need to use the lance at all, just basically bridge across the 2 pairs of terminals using the spanners. Well, the first terminal I bridged was the battery positive cable that feeds into the solenoid block to one of the wires that goes out to the motor. Now, I wasn't too sure which way around I needed to do it, but it was trial and error. But remember, bear in mind, I'd only bridged 1 pair of terminals, not 2. So there wasn't a complete circuit yet, dead short to ground. So big spark, obviously no action for the winch because there's no circuit going on. So I thought, great. So the motor's actually burnt out to the point where the positive side is shorting down to the casing of the winch, which obviously is battery negative on the vehicle. So I couldn't get the vehicle out. That was it. Game over. I had a couple of goes at driving it out, but didn't want to rive the crap out of it, so gave up. And started to packed all my gear up and started to walk back to go and get the Ranger to go and pull it out, which it would have done easily, to be fair. Anyway, I got out onto the gravel road and I heard in the distance another ROV heading my way. So I thought, I'll just wait for a little bit. And sure enough, a lass called Stacy, I think her name was, turned up, another one of the farm workers. So I said, hey, can you give us a pull out? I'm stuck. And I explained that I deliberately got stuck, which she didn't quite understand. But anyway, I got deliberately stuck and the winch didn't work. That's why I'm still stuck and not unstuck. Anyway, she was very happy. I'd already got the strop lined up, ready to pull me out. And she reversed up. I set the cameras on and she pulled me out on camera, which is great. Yeah, Andy got stuck. I had to get recovered. It's not a good look, is it, to be fair? So, of course, some of my work colleagues are currently taking the piss. Yes. Motto of the day, check your winch before you plan to use it. I did, in my defense, ask the farm worker that took me around the farm in the same ROV earlier in the morning if the winch was working. Oh, yeah, she's fine, mate. She's fine. No problems. I used it last week. Did you now? So you burnt it out. And they do regularly burn out the winches. But anyway, good little story. Got fit because I was traipsing through the bog to get to the ROV and back around and doing the diagnostics and stuff on the winch. When you stood in the bog, it was about knee deep. It was really, if I'd had wellies on, gum boots, wellies, I'd have lost them, right? Luckily, I've got proper, outdoor boots that lace up and are nice and tight on my ankles. So I didn't lose those. But I was absolutely blathered from the waist down in a thick, gloopy mud. So when I got back up to the farm eventually, I got the high pressure hose and had to hose myself down. So then I had to drive an hour back to Gisborne, soaking wet in the ute. Yeah, it wasn't a good look, to be fair. It really wasn't. Straight in the shower. Game over. Day done, basically. Who have we got? Let's just scroll back a little bit. Boom, 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 boom. I've not turned that heart thing off yet, so you'll bear with me. I'm just going to read it, the comments after the last comment, if you know me. Simon, the only new Mercedes should be a Unimog. Oh, could you imagine a new Unimog? Although, to be fair, I have got, I like the one that I had, which is the one with sort of the squarish cab. The new ones are a bit, I mean, I'm sure they're very, very capable, but they seem to be a bit more road type. They don't look as rugged as the old ones. But yes, the Unimog. It's on the cards, Simon, one day. Daniel. Hello, Mrs. Mechanic, Andy and crew. You see, we know who comes first, don't we, Daniel? I know it's been a long time since I've made it to a live stream, but been way too busy. You are a busy chap. You're like me, Daniel. You're always busy doing stuff. And it's good to have you back, matey. I got the Broskis. That was a good one, wasn't it? Guten Abend, crew. Oh, hang on. Guten Abend. Is that how you pronounce it? Guten Abend. I did do a bit of German at school. Not for very long, but I did. And I don't know any of it. But maybe I can read it. I don't know. The real Daz. Mrs. Mechanic is a good woman for looking after all the pies for the live stream. She is. She's very conscious about trying to find me new pies. I did find out some really sad news, actually. In fact, Sheldon sent me the thingy, so I can tell you. I know one of the brands is Irvin's. So just bear with me, people. Bear with me. Just going to roll back a little bit. He sent me a thingy. There we are. Is that the one? Yes. So, here in New Zealand, there's a pie making company, two companies that are owned by a company in Australia called Goodman Fielder. They're the manufacturer, right? They've got two sites. They're going to stop making Irvin's pies. We've done lots of Irvin's pies. And one of my favourites, Mackenzie pies. They're also stopping production. So they had a factory in Palmerston North, in the North Island, and of course, the one in the South Island was in Oamaru. And that's a loss of 90 jobs. It's really, really bad. So no more Irvin's pies and no more Mackenzie pies, unless they make them elsewhere in New Zealand, but I don't think they do. So gone, lost forever, unfortunately. Very sad. And they weren't that bad a pie. There's much worse pies out there. Wade Mayer. Howdy. Happy I could crash this one. Missed the last two by 3 hours. Sorry, mate. The time is the time. 8:30 a.m. Sunday mornings, New Zealand time. Every other weekend, normally, unless I'm on the road. And then we do one every Sunday. Just for a bit of company for me, really. Connor K. Good morning, Connor. Morning, Andy and crew. What's going on? I'm getting much colder and a fair amount of rain in recent days here in Portugal. Well, Connor, I received Mum. Actually, morning, Mum, if you're watching. Mum sent me a couple of photos, one of Whitby and one of Helmsley, both places that I regularly used to frequent. Helmsley has some great pubs, by the way, if you're down there. Simon's been to Helmsley. He knows all about the pubs there. And they were both covered in snow. So the North Yorkshire Moors has received a decent bout of snow recently. I'm very envious. I really liked the North Yorkshire Moors when it was snowy. We'd go off and regularly go doing night off-road driving when it was snowy. Great fun. Had a lot of fun doing that, and getting stuck. I remember being out on Rudland Rig when Mrs. Mechanic was pregnant with Ben, and we were on our own, so no winch, all on our own, no other vehicles to pull us out. And we were going down Rudland Rig, and it was a blizzard. It literally was a blizzard up there. It's very high. And either side of the gravel road, there are big ditches for drainage. Anyway, we'd strayed off. I'd strayed off. Despite driving it thousands of times, I'd just lost my bearings a little bit in the dark and strayed off and got stuck in one of the ditches. So luckily it was powder snow, and I was outside shoveling the powder snow away with my hands to get the vehicle unstuck. And we did get it unstuck. Mrs. Mechanic was driving, and I was doing the shoveling with my mitts. And we finally got out, but I was soaking wet by the end of it and very, very cold. And she was pregnant. I wasn't very responsible. Maybe some might argue that I'm still not, Mrs. Mechanic. But back then, quite the adventurer. Everything else came second. Safety? Who needs safety? Well, let's just see if we can do it. And we had a great time. And we made it out, luckily. Got home very late in the morning. Early, about 1 o'clock in the morning, I think we got back. And of course, no phone signal either. So you're on your own. Sheldon. Oh yes, you must stop destroying the environment for the sake of advertising, like the Hilux advert in the UK. How ridiculous is that? You can laugh, right? You can laugh. I won't say the brand, but I know that this is true. Nowadays, when before an advert's released to market or onto TV, whatever it is, to the public, most large corporate companies have what's called a compliance department, and it has to go through compliance and pass all the various things that an advert has to meet, whether it's little text at the bottom, terms and conditions, or whether it's the content or what. There's all sorts of stuff that has to be right, and it's quite stressful for the people putting the adverts together. They really hate the compliance department. And recently, I heard of a video that was going out to market for mountain bikes, e-bikes. And of course, e-bikes, it was a mountain bike e-bikes. It was an off-road e-bike, knobbly tires and stuff. And compliance, so I'm told, rejected some of the video footage, because it showed mud spraying off the rear tire of the mountain bike as the rider powered up a hill with the e-bike, with the electric motor assistance. Back tire was spinning a bit. It was going pretty quick, and there was some mud that flicked off the rear tire. That's bad for the environment, says the manufacturer. What? That's what happens when you ride an e-bike off-road. It happens when you drive anything off-road. You will get mud coming off the tires. To say that that's bad for the environment, really? Are we going to see globally? I mean, this was in New Zealand, and obviously it's already happened in the UK. The Hilux advert's been pinged for the same reason. Are we now going to see off-road vehicles, tractors, anything that has some mud on its tires, unable to be aired, and you're going to see a tractor instead driving down the high street of a local town as part of the advert, or the advert, rather than in its working environment? I mean, how ludicrous is that? What is the world coming to? You should be able to advertise a vehicle within its normal working environment, regardless of what it is. Could you imagine a company that makes Komatsu, that make the massive dump trucks for the open cast mining? They put together an advert to, showcase their new dump truck that weighs, 80 tons or whatever it is, massive, great tires, and there they are digging the side of a mountain away to get to the minerals or whatever it is they're digging up. And one of their big Komatsu trucks comes thundering past with 50 tons in the back, and there's not just bits of mud flying off the tires, there's great, tons of mud and massive ruts that are being created in the ground. That's what they do. And we happily buy the products that require that mining, you know, to try and hide that from the public and say, oh, you can't have an advert showing that. It's just dumb. It's really dumb. Are they going to ban all the electric car adverts because all they do is catch fire? That's bad for the environment, isn't it? It's the thin end. Well, it's not the thin end of the wedge anymore. We're about halfway up the wedge. It's mind-blowingly nonsensical. And I really feel for my kids. You know, I can, you know, at least I've had the good times, right? You know, the last 51 years, I've seen adverts on TV with mud flying off tyres. It's been great. I've enjoyed those adverts. The Hilux flying through the air on the New Zealand advert of the 80s. Brilliant. That's what it's all about. But now, you may never see that again. Unbelievable. Now, somebody's messaged me. Let's see what's going on. Like Mrs. Mechanic saying, shut up. Oh, it's Daniel. Oh, my word, Daniel. Jeez, 27 pictures. Well, they're going to take a while to download. They're going to take a very long time to download. They are downloading now. Who else have we got? Where did we get to? Simon, you're a brave man with the salon envelope. I was really brave, but it worked out well. The purple looks good. It's pink. It's not purple, purpley pink, but it's mainly pink, right? It's pink, and everything from the salon side was not staged at all. The ladies in the salon, they knew exactly what was going to be done. Mrs. Mechanic did not know what was going to be done. It wasn't staged at all. Mrs. Mechanic had no idea what she was going to look like post salon visit, Copperhead Road. And they did a great job. And it has, I mean, obviously, when you get your hair dyed, it's pretty vibrant for the first few days. Then you wash it a couple of times, and of course, it does lose some of that vibrancy. And it's calmed down a bit now. Mrs. Mechanic's sort of coming round to it, I think. And I hope she sees it as a gift. It was a gift from me to her, you know, to say, hey, well done. You've done all that 90 kilometers of mountainous walking for whatever reason. You know, why would you? But anyway, 90 kilometers of trekking around the mountains of New Zealand in the South Island. This is a gift from me to you. And she sort of, initially she was a bit, you know, there was a bit of pushback, but now she's sort of, you know, she's come to accept it. It's all good. Now, they are still downloading, Daniel, just bear with me. Here we go. Right. Yes, I was very brave, Simon. Thank you for that, for pointing it out. Somebody's got to do something like that. Right. Roger Heaps. Good morning, Andy and crew. Good morning, Roger. Welcome back to the workshop. Bill Betts. How do, Andy? Bill from Scarborough. Holy moly, Bill. Bill is a good friend from a very long time ago. Bill, great to hear from you, mate. It really, really is. Things have changed a lot in the last 15 years or so. 14 and a half years, whatever it is. Nearly 15 years now. Bill restores old furniture. Or he did when I knew him. And Bill was also a really good instructor for the off-road driving. Helped us out an awful lot, be it on the quad bikes or the four-wheel drives. Top bloke. But yes, Bill, I hope all is well in your world and everything is going to plan. And I hope you're not blowing up any more lavatories with your bangers. I do remember that. And I've also got a photo of you somewhere sat on a quad bike covered from top to toe in mud. Classic photo, mate. Classic photo. So, Bill, what's been going on? I mean, and you can message me if you like. I mean, it's great to hear from you. It really is. I've lost touch with just about everybody in the UK apart from Mum, to be honest. It's very sad. It really is. I had a lot of friends over there, and I miss a lot of them. I miss all of them, to be fair. MF50B. Now then, Andy and crew, from a frozen Rydale. Yes, very cold and snowy. Have you got snow in Scarborough as well, Bill? There's snow in Whitby, I'm told. Yeah, in Whitby and Helmsley. So I'm pretty sure Scarborough's got snow as well. Now then, JJ. Morning, Andy and crew. Good morning, JJ. The real Daz. I got some 4 and 20 pies at the supermarket. No cheap Irvins to be seen. Ooh, so maybe they have actually finally, that's it, gone. Thanks. Cheers, matey. I got the Broskis. We had snow every day for the last 1.5 weeks. Now it's about 50 centimeters deep. Wow, that's pretty crippling when you're trying to get somewhere. 50 centimeters, that's nearly 2 foot deep. We only used to get snow of that kind of depth where I used to live in the UK, which was up on the North Yorkshire moors, and it was pretty high was the farm we lived at. We didn't farm, but we rented a farm for the off-road site. And there was occasions where I had to jump in the loading shovel, little scoop, little Kramer Alrad 312 SE. And we had about, probably about a 200-meter driveway, maybe a bit longer than that. Concrete that ran down into the yard in the farm. And I used to scrape that with the loading shovel. Great fun doing that in the digger in the morning. And we had to do it to get all the Jeeps out, you know. It was a job that had to be done, and it would take quite a while to do it. Good old scoop used to fire up, bit of easy start on a cold morning, getting going. Good little digger that was. A loading shovel, actually, a proper loading shovel. It would lift about 2 ton. It was great. Used it all the time. Simon had some very merry nights in Helmsley. I bet you did. At the farmyard party, bike rally. Yeah, oh, was that on Duncan Park? Been there a few times. I did some. We did an event there years ago where we took the Argo Cat and the Super Cat, and we took kids for rides, and we put together a course in the woods. And there was this big mound of gravel, obviously being used for fixing roads and stuff around the estate. Very posh. And I decided to drive over it a few times, and we in the end we made it part of the route. The kids loved going up there. It was great fun. I think I broke the Super Cat, or one of them broke. I think from memory. Yeah. They're pretty fragile vehicles. To be fair, the Super Cat was pretty easy to break. Simon. Igovoskis, 10 centimeters, bring the UK to a standstill. It does. First floor, I mean, Auckland, you get one snowflake. Chaos. Absolute chaos, because it very rarely ever snows in Auckland. We had snow, last time I remember, we had snow in Devonport, which is just the other side of the water. But it didn't last long. It lasted like half an hour, and the sun came out and boof, gone, you know. Connor K, here we go. Safety is for guys in high-vis vests. Yeah, it is. It's a very PC world these days, isn't it? Igor Zavoskis, an e-bike is not a proper dirt squirter anymore. That's why it's not good for the environment. That's one way of looking at it. I think e-bikes are great in the fact that they're basically enticing a lot more people that wouldn't ride bicycles, usually older people like me, that have pretty much given up riding bicycles because it's just too hard. Obviously, it makes it less hard to ride because you've got the assistance, so they tend to buy them. It's very popular here in New Zealand, and the older generation, you know, even older than me, really old people, are riding them around and getting back on a bike, and it is giving them some exercise, which is great. Otherwise, if the e-bike didn't exist, they just wouldn't do it. As regards an alternative form of transport to replace, you know, an internal combustion vehicle that is bad for the environment, we know they are. It's obvious that they are. There's very few people that are chopping in their car or leaving their car at home and riding an e-bike to work instead. I think that's very much a minority group. What's probably more the case is the fact that they've bought themselves an e-bike, they then stick it on the back of the car, drive hundreds of kilometers to get to a mountain bike site to go, you know, where all the trails are, park the car, and then ride the e-bike. And if e-bikes didn't exist, they'd be on a normal mountain bike, and it's probably an old person, so they probably wouldn't have bought the standard mountain bike, not the e-bike, so they wouldn't have driven those hundreds and hundreds of Ks. So in that particular instance, that e-bike itself, the e-bike itself is bad for the environment, but it's also encouraging additional car use as well, which is also bad for the polar bears. So, if you did a survey and tried to quantify the whole thing, I think, personally, overall, massively, e-bikes are bad for the environment. That's my personal opinion. Just ride a dirt bike. If you're going to be bad to the environment, just ride a dirt bike, and you probably, I've already got a dirt bike, so I don't need to go and buy an e-bike. I'll just use what I've already got. Go and do the trails when there's nobody else around, on your ultimate farm bike or something. And you don't have to pedal. It's even better. At the end of the day, we've made motorbikes for a reason, right? We didn't design an e-bike. We designed a motorcycle. That'll do. Don't need to pedal at all. And it goes really fast. A lot faster than an e-bike can go. And you don't have to charge it up. You can just call in at one of the many, many, many petrol stations and fill up within a few minutes and carry on again on your journey. The number of people that I've seen sat in their electric cars, charging them up, just sat there reading a book, and their life is just draining away. Why? When I get to a petrol station and I want to refuel, all I want to do is refuel the car, me, quick pie, jump back in the truck, back on the road. I don't want to be sat there for an hour charging my car up. That'd be ridiculous. Anyway, some people obviously don't value their lives that much. They haven't got much to do. Anyway, where do we get to? 83 pictures, Daniel. Come on. There goes my phone memory. Hang on. Scroll back. I goes Ruskis. Simon Roll. For us, it depends on the condition of the snow. If it is light and cold outside, there is no problem. But if it's wet and heavy, there are some problems. Yeah, and your country's probably geared up for that kind of stuff, I go. Daniel, now you will see what I've been doing since the yearbox video post. Let me have a quick scan. Bear with me. Let's have a look at these photos. Holy moly, that's a lot of pictures, Daniel. Let me just, you've been doing wiring. I'm going to show some of the photos. Lots of wiring, lots and lots of wiring. That's interesting. Let's have a look at the bit. Here you go. Igos doesn't mind me showing some photos. So there you go, look. Boom. Boom. Lots and lots and lots and lots. He's a busy chap. He does a great job. Very tidy work when it's all finished. Takes on some massive projects. And he gets them done a lot faster than I do, to be fair. Putting up lights and more wiring. It looks like that's been on fire. It really looks like it's been on fire, doesn't it? There's black smoke. Anyway, that's enough of those. Good stuff. Thank you. I'll look at all of them later on. Appreciate that. I go Zabroskis. Big problems are that there are... Hang on. Big problems are there for the BMW drivers. An awful lot of them are ending up in ditches. Well, rear-wheel drive. It's more fun, isn't it? I go Zabroskis. Andy, was your Instagram account hacked, or did you post that info on Bitcoin? I covered that earlier on at the start. My Instagram, my Facebook, and my Andy Mechanic email all got hacked last Saturday afternoon. Got the emails back, got the Facebook back. Hit a dead end with trying to get my Instagram back. I'll revisit that later on. I'm not letting it upset me. These kind of things happen. There are those kind of people in the world that obviously want to get more people involved in Bitcoin. And sure, if it works, and you buy yourself a nice new Mercedes and earn $10,000 in a week or whatever it is, then good on you. But you don't have to steal my Instagram to promote it. If it's that good, it doesn't need illegal promotion, in my book. Anyway, let's go and put the pie in because I'm getting hungry. So this time around, we've got a Maketu Pies. They're still in business, I believe. and this is a mince and cheese. Now, we have done a couple of these pies before, not the mince and cheese variety, but this particular brand, to camera Andy. So I'm interested to see how good or bad this one is. There you go, look. Quick spin around before we chuck it in the pie warmer. Dum, 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 dum. I'll come back to the comments shortly. There we go. Nice. Oh, it's got an M on the back. Oh, look at that. That's posh. I didn't see that. I don't remember that last time. There must be, that could be an improvement. Right, I'll turn you around. 3, 2, 1, boom. Okay, let's have a wander around the workshop. There's also, look, there's a framey thing. I'll have a look at that in a second. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum. Lovely jubbly. Right, pie's in, 23 minutes. Okay, this is Workstation 1. This is Mrs. Mechanic's workstation. Oh, look at the splatter on that. Mrs. Mechanic's got all this to clean up. Where are we at with it? Well, there are some videos going out. The first video is already out. Second video I finished yesterday. Still got to edit it up and stuff. It's massive. It's huge. It's 2.4 meters in length, and it's a lot higher than I am. It's been designed for a very, very, very specific reason. This one is for Mrs. Mechanic to put all her electrical, computery, printery, scanners, cutters, all that kind of thing on. So it's going to be just a complete worktop on here. We're going to fit some kind of timber on the top. I've gone for 30mm thick timber, so and these are the supports, and the surface of this is 30mm below this, so it'll sit on there nicely. There's some tabs to go on, similar, basically the same kind of tabs to those that we had laser cut. They're going to be scattered around the perimeter to bolt the whole thing down, and they'll be exactly the same for the top shelf, which is this bit up here. So there'll be 3 more going across there, and some more tabs up there, and that's a storage shelf basically. But it also means we can put some lighting on the underside coming down. I'm going to use some of those workshop lights that I got out of Holly's workshop a while ago, because they're also flicker free for filming. Mrs. Mechanic does she does a bit of filming on her craft stuff as well, so it'd be great for her. And I'll do the same with my workstation. My workstation is going to be a little bit different. Same length, same dimensions, but on mine, I'm going to have some shelving at the end. So there'll be some more small box section, same as that one there, coming down. The measurements are in the book. Coming down here, and then there'll be a single shelf coming across here and across the back. This brace won't be on mine. This brace will be further inboard to allow a vertical piece to go in there. It's on some temporary casters at the moment. You've seen the posh casters that we're going to fit. They're in that Wheelco box on there. Pretty cool casters. These are about 25mm higher, so the whole thing will be a little bit lower once it's in the house. It's very strong. It is. It's probably, well, it is most definitely overkill. There's no doubt about that. But the design, at some point, we may decide not to have these in the house. You know, as we get older, we may stop doing YouTube. Who knows? And we may decide to use the room for something else. So I've made them strong enough to be used in a workshop as a workshop sort of benchy thing as well, like a workstation. So obviously they won't fit in this workshop because this workshop's already full. But you know, we are constantly expanding, have plans for more sheds, put it that way. But it all came together pretty well. Had a real problem with alignment of these tabs. Absolutely critical that they align correctly. If not, then when you bolt it up, it causes one frame to twist in relation to the other, and that was the problem that I had. So I had to redo these tabs, and that took me a good half a day to work out what the problem was and to rectify it, which is done now. It's all square and it's good. Just for reference, those that haven't seen the first video, this is 50 by 50 by 4mm wall box section. It's pretty beefy stuff. This is 30 by 30 by 3. These plates here are 8mm thick, and these little tab plates are 6mm thick. So it's all pretty beefy stuff, to be fair. Now, you may say, Andy, why have you bolted that diagonal into a welded frame? Well, I did that specifically because just for styling more than anything else. I could have just welded it straight in, but I wanted a feature, and the feature is these tabs with the countersinks. Plus, you know, I like them. I like them a lot. So the end ones are all bolted in, and we've done the same thing with the rear diagonals as well. So it's coming on slowly. There's a lot of work involved. I made up a lot of tabs, a lot of these yesterday. These are these bits for the inlay. You see, look, wrong way around. So there you go, exactly the same. Dum dum dum. Lots of those, and the tabs are all offset to get that depth just right. And cut down some more of these little tabs, and cut down some big ones again for something. Oh, for the other frame, that's right, because the other frames are over there for Workstation 2. The frames are made, but that's it. That's all I've done so far, other than make bits to go on them that haven't yet been fitted. What else? Yes, the workshop's a tip. Making frames like this required the use of many clamps, and I did buy some new ones. Those that missed the last live stream, I bought some new ones down there, look. So we've got lots of clamps. So I'm going to have to come up with some kind of clamp rack, I think, rather than the way I've been storing them previously, but that's a job for another day. One thing I have done is made lots of little gizmos and gadgets and sort of jigs to try and speed the process up for the second frame, and accuracy as well. So this is a little jig that I use for installing those bars that we just looked at that go from one side to the other underneath the timber. You know, we've got lots of little templates, you see. That's the template for the feet, you know, so I can use that again in the future for casters. Can't remember what that's for. I think it's for the large tabs on the frame. Another little template there. That's just a bit of hanging. I made that yesterday, used that yesterday. It was really good, very useful. That was actually made to do those, because I drill a hole 30mm in at the correct point in the box section, and then slit this back to create the slot. Line it all up, tack it into place, and then weld it up. And that was the last job yesterday. Was to weld those. Yeah, so it's been pretty busy. Lots going on. But other than that, did get some stuff actually while we're up, whilst we're pieing. I got these, so I'm just going to put you on the bench and we'll just drop you down a little bit. There we go. So I got these. These are a little plastic insert that goes into the 50x50 box for the top of those frames. So 4 per workstation and a couple spares. So that's pretty much all I've ordered this week. We're still waiting on the paint. If we go over here, I can show you the paint we've got. I don't think I've shown this on the videos, so not yet. So the paint we've got is this stuff. It's called Diamond Finish Clear Coat. It comes in 1 litre tins, bent tins by the looks of it. And when I ordered it, they didn't tell me about the adhesion promoter, which is written on the label there. I only found out when I actually picked these tins up. And when you're using it, it is designed to be used on, and reputedly very good to be used on bare steel. I don't want to paint these as such with a colour. I want to just lacquer them so we can keep the steel effect. I really like seeing all the little welds and grinds and bits and pieces. So we're going to try and preserve that. And the timber I'm going to put on top of like a dark hardwood, I think it'll look nice actually, because it's got to look nice. It's going to be in the house, and I'm going to spend many hours working at this bench. You know, when it's all finished. Now they also supply me some thinners. The thinners is only for cleaning the gun, hat thinners, but it tells you when you're using the adhesion additive, the promoter, you've got to also thin the paint using the KBS thinners. So I've ordered some thinners. I've ordered a litre of the adhesion promoter and a few other bits and pieces, which hopefully I can pick up the next time I'm up in Auckland. So until we get those, Mrs. Mechanic can't clean them up. It's not finished yet anyway, and we can't paint it. And I want to get them both painted at the same time. I don't want to be setting up twice to paint, so it's going to be quite a big paint job. Right, I think that's about it. So I'll turn you around again. 3, 2, 1, boom. There we go. Hopefully we're still lined up, sort of. Ugh. Okay, I'm going to go back to the comments. Dum, 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 dum. So another busy day today. I'd like to get that frame finished today. I really would. And then next weekend, Ben's coming down next weekend. He was going to come this weekend, but he's coming down next weekend now. He's bought himself a new, it's not new, it's a Nissan Patrol. It's about the same year as mine. Short wheel, is it a short wheelbase? No, I think it's a long wheelbase. It's been converted to a ute. So it's got quite a big tray on the back. It's got a PTO winch, which is very cool. And the tray actually tips. It's a hydraulic tipper. So it's got all the hydraulics on it, which is really cool. So he's really looking forward to getting hold of that. And it'll be a major asset vehicle for the family. It really will. So there'll be no excuse anymore that he can't tow a trailer anywhere. So I'll make full use of that. God, my internet's gone bad. What's the internet like? What's the picture like at your end in the audio? It does that sometimes when I do a walkabout. It seems to drop the quality. Maybe it'll come back. Who knows? Right, where do we get to? There we go. Daniel, I just also sent you a video. Holy crap. The Giant. Andy, I need some advice. I need to use a 6mm left threaded bolt. What is the best type of steel is better for frequent loosening and tightening? That's a very good question. So we're talking about not the steel that the bolt's made from. We're talking about the steel that you're putting the thread into that the bolt's going to screw into. Well, mild steel is pretty weak, to be honest. But then again, you need to be able to tap it, right? So you can't use hardened steel. What you might want to do, if it's going to be regular, and I used one yesterday actually to fix my DTI mount because the thread had broken in that, is you could just use mild steel and put in a time cert into the mild steel with the inner thread of the bolt that you want to use. The time certs are made of a much harder steel, so that will cope with you screwing in and screwing out on a regular basis. Possibly that might be the best way forwards. But time certs are not cheap, and you've got to buy a kit to fit them. It's not a helicoil. It's very different to a helicoil. So that's probably what I would do, actually. I'd use a 6mm time cert, which means that the outer thread's about an 8mm or a 10. No, it'd be about a 10mm, M10, I think, from memory. George Bonnie 90. Hello, everybody. Good morning, George. Welcome back to the workshop, matey. Simon, Police Scotland are using e-bikes for off-road patrolling, using Suron e-bikes that do 50 miles an hour. Holy crap. Well, e-bikes here in New Zealand, officially, by the letter of the law, are limited to, I think, 40 kilometers an hour. Something around that mark. Basically, assistance stops when you get to that speed. Obviously, you can hack them. And also, the motors, or motor that's allowed, the biggest motor you're allowed on an e-bike officially is 300 watts. In reality, there are many e-bikes on the market here in New Zealand now which far exceed that. So whether the legislation's just nobody's bothering to adhere to it or what, I don't know. But it's probably going to bite somebody sometime, because the faster these e-bikes get, the more accidents they're going to have. And at some point, some accident assessor bloke is going to look at the bike and go, that's not a 300 watt motor. That's like an 800 watt motor. What the hell? And it's got two, one in the front wheel and one in the back wheel. What the crap? Which people are building themselves. They're putting hub motors in the front of the bike as well. Connor K. Oh, gearbox. Sorry, it was on. Oh, shit. Okay, I'll look at that shortly. Connor K. These are the same people who don't like lorries or tractor trailers on the road, but they do like the stuff that they transport. Exactly, Connor. exactly that. You know, it's that not in my backyard syndrome. We still need the stuff, but I don't want it around me. Yeah, I don't want the inconvenience of all the stuff that goes to get me that product. I agree with you completely. Whether it's digging the minerals out of the ground or transporting it down the road, they're just not interested. And, you know, if you want it, you've got to accept everything that comes with it, right? Daniel Bedell, come to the UK. This is Simon Rule, by the way. Daniel Bedell, come to the UK. My missus wants to redecorate. There you go, Daniel. You've got a trip to the UK. Job. Daniel, a lady hired a guy to tidy up the house that she and her newly wedded husband just spent $283,000 on, US dollars, on, and paid him $20,000 to install new recessed lights in the living room outlets. What? 20 grand US to install some recessed lights in the living room, a few outlets and light switches. That is ludicrous. And he really messed up her house. So obviously he didn't know what he was doing either. Both my brother and I are doing the house that had the burned wires. Yeah, wow, it did look burnt. Daniel, Simon, that would be splendid. And I would have to get a passport. Yes, you need a passport to change countries normally. Unless you want to hide in a truck or hide in the, stow away on a plane or something. It's quite difficult and it's not much fun. So a passport's probably the easiest way of doing it. Daniel, meanwhile, I would also stop in New Zealand and visit Andy and have to teach and have him teach me how to weld. Anytime, mate. Anytime at all. And I'm not the best welder in the world, don't get me wrong, but things tend to stay together. Sheldon, the Giant, you'd want a grade 8.8 bolt or better. Yes, I don't think it's the bolt so much. It's more the metal that he's threading the bolt into. Because mild steel, you can cope with it a few times, but it's quite easy to pull the threads on a bit of mild steel. But you're absolutely right. And you see, if you go stainless, it can gall. I've noticed I've got a lot of stainless nuts and bolts, and they're not really. They are stronger. If you want a nice strong bolt, then use a cap head because they are about the strongest. I think they're 15% stronger than a bolt, a cap head. In fact, I can't remember the last time I stripped the threads on a cap head. They're actually pretty good. That's a new name. Hang on a minute. Kavorka Designs, zinc coated or zinc oil. Okay. Sheldon, 1040 is pretty good all-round grade steel to use. Well, there you go. Sheldon knows a lot more about this stuff than I do, to be fair. I have to research it every time because I just forget. Simon, or use nuts and studs. Yes, a good idea. Put some studs in it. That's a very good idea, actually, Simon. Then you're not working the steel and the stud can be changed. Very good idea. I like that simple solution. And yes, a stud might work. It depends on the application. Now, I have a question for you lot, and you might be able to help. So Connor, Simon, prick your ears up. This is technical. So, centrifugal clutch runs in engine oil, and Jim, if you're there, and sometimes, basically, a centrifugal clutch has three modes. It has disengaged, so the engines are idle. It has what I call the slip mode, which is when the shoes that get thrown out are starting to make contact with the outer drum to create drive. And then, of course, as the engine RPM increases, the force of those shoes against the drum increases as well due to the centrifugal force. And eventually, you enter the lock stage where the shoes and the drum are locked together and rotating at the same speed. Now, my question to you is, it runs in engine oil. And if you spend too long in the slip mode, it creates too much heat. And In the past, I've come across many examples of the drum being blued, i.e. it's a clear indication it's been overheated. Now, for steel to get to the blue state, I believe it's about 290, 300 degrees C. It's about 600 Fahrenheit. I'm not too sure what it is in Fahrenheit, but anyway, Jim will know. When a metal gets that hot, first of all, it's way exceeded the operating temperature that the engine oil is designed to operate at, which is a maximum of about 140 degrees C. But more to the point, it's not only damaging the engine oil that's surrounding it, but it infuses some of the engine oil gets infused into the steel of the drum. And what that does, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is my understanding, what that does is it changes the coefficient of friction of the steel surface. It becomes more slippy, basically, which when you come to reapply when the centrifugal clutch works again, the friction material on the shoes can't grip the drum as well as they did previously. So that the slip mode, you need a higher engine RPM to get it to enter the lock state of the centrifugal clutch. So it spends more time then in the slip mode and creates even more heat. And it's an irreversible occurrence. So things only get worse and worse and worse. The engine oil gets more and more damaged. It degrades really quick because of all this excessive heat that's on the drum, and basically the whole thing just grinds to a halt. So the point I'm trying to make is I've tried to find online information to try and quantify how much the coefficient of friction of the steel drum is affected by the oil entering the metal at that temperature. Very complicated, very technical, right on the limit of my knowledge base. I just wanted to try and quantify it. So if you've got any experience in that, or if you've come across that yourselves, an example of that happening, then let me know. It'd be good to try and build my knowledge a little bit on, from what you know. It's an ongoing thing at the moment that I'm working with. So, if you can point me in the right direction, emails are good. I've got my emails back, or send me a Facebook message if you like as well. Kavoka Designs, zinc stop friction between metals. It forms beads. The GTX behind you has it in. Oh, really? So the Castrol engine oil has zinc in it. Interesting. Less friction, less heat. Less friction is good for most things. Jim K. Sounds like we need a dynamometer. Yes, it does. I have done a bit of work on centrifugal clutches a couple of years ago, and I've come across lots of cases of this and it affecting the vehicle in the way that I've described. So you end up revving the engine revving the engine higher to achieve the same torque output at the wheels. Basically, the vehicle stays in slip mode for a wider engine RPM period. So yeah, interesting stuff. I'm sure I'm right, but I would just like to quantify it. Whether it's the same as, remember in the Ranger, when I was in the South Island, the front brakes massively overheated when I was towing the trailer, and it glazed the discs. Again, is that potentially something that's because the discs are so hot, it's entering the disc material and actually changing the coefficient of friction of the surface of the brake disc? Because even once the brakes had cooled down, they were nowhere near as good. And I don't think just replacing the brake pads would have brought the brakes back to their original performance. Basically, I had to press on the brake pedal a lot harder to get a similar braking force. So again, that could be something similar. Obviously, there's no engine oil involved with that, and it could be something similar that's happening. Where do we get to? Daniel, I think you will like that fireplace in the video. Okay. Simon, all I can think is project form style with some sandpaper and a fixed weight and scales to pull the load. Yeah, you could try it dry, couldn't you? You could, because well, yeah. I mean, to quantify it, I was looking more about the technical stats of how the surface of the metal changes, and if there was any sort of testing results that were available that might sort of confirm my thinking. Because it's one thing me saying something, when it's in a corporate environment, it needs to be substantiated, right? So, yeah, it's a difficult one to find the information on. I found, basically there are processes in metalwork where you quench steel in various liquids, and some of those liquids are oils in order to change the properties of the steel. So, I'm pretty sure I'm along the right lines, but I just need. Here we go. Sheldon, zinc has been removed from engine oils a lot due to emissions from exhaust showing elements of zinc, but the downside is camshafts are wearing out. Interesting. Thanks, Sheldon. Kavoka Designs, Mobile One probably has the best metal oil testing and info. Okay. Pie. Food for thought. Anyway, so that's what I've been working on recently on a particular case, and it's an interesting one. It really is. Gets you thinking, actually. But I have experienced the effects on the vehicle post overheat situation. Where the drum has been overheated, and it. In fact, I'm sure I even did a video on it. I did do a video on it. It's a hidden video, but I had an ROV come in with that very problem, and I did a before and after video of driving the vehicle, and you could definitely tell the difference. It was the engine revs, the clutch would fully lock at a lower engine RPM, although I didn't quantify the RPM, but you could definitely tell it was engaging and locking at a lower revs. And once the new clutch was fitted, that was a new drum, new friction material. It was back to normal. Obviously, an oil change. It was back to normal. It was as it should be again. So, gets you thinking, doesn't it? Kavoka Designs. I only drive older cars and cat delete. Absolutely. Who needs a cat? Sheldon. Just about a question for the Society of Automotive Engineers. Could be, couldn't it, Sheldon? Maybe I'll have to flick them an email and see what they have to say. Daniel. Andy, Project Farm that Simon is talking about has a video where he uses bearings coating different grades of oils, and it shows you the difference in the wear and tear of bearings and oils. Yes, he does. I've seen that. But this is a bit different. This is the steel has reached in this case, about 300 degrees C. It's immersed in oil, so essentially it's quenched in oil permanently. And at that temperature, I believe the engine oil actually changes the composition and the characteristics of the surface of the steel permanently, i.e. it lowers the coefficient of friction, makes it more slippy. Even if you clean all the oil off, the coefficient of friction is still different to the same component that hasn't been overheated and hasn't had the effects of the oil on the surface due to the heat. That's the point I'm trying to make. You really should check it out. It's about 4 years old now. Kavoka Design, Sheldon Rush, you're referring to STP. He shows that. Okay, I'll check it out. Daniel. No problem at all. Right, let's go and get the pie because I'm starving. Okay, the quality of my video at this end's picked up again, so hopefully we're all right, not too fast. Oh, that's Miss December, by the way, from Forge. Very nice, very relaxed. Okay, good job, Jared. Here we go. What's it like? Dum 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 dum. It looks pretty good. Not too much thermal cracking going on there. I like that. Still got the M on the bottom. It's golden brown on the bottom now, look. Perfect. It's a good pie warmer, is that one. I do like it. Now, the only problem is, well, I have to find somewhere clean. That's pretty clean. We'll get the bag. Stick it on the bag. Dum dum dum. Trying to film the whole thing at the same time. Right. Okay, turn you around again. 3, 2, 1, boom. There we go. We should be good at that. Fingers crossed. So I should have put that in the title of the video actually. Discussion around effects of coefficient of friction with engine oil and overheated steel. That would have been. There wouldn't be enough characters for all that. And he also shows how. So it shows you the different colours from the including gold, orange, and blue as well. Yes, I did find a chart which basically sort of starts like a very pale yellow, straw yellow, going through the blues, and then sort of going to like a bluey green, and it gave you the temperature ranges. So I got all. That's where I got the 300 degrees C from the blue. So I did find that they're readily available on Google. I remember that video because I thought it was very interesting. I'm sure it is, and I will watch it later on, probably tonight, because I had a lawnmower that was burning oil. There you go. Right. Okay. Quick close-up. Oh, for those that have just joined us, by the way, this is a Maketu Pie. It's a mince and cheese, and it came from a local store. This is one of the pie companies that's still in operation in New Zealand, unlike Irvin's and Mackenzie Pies. They've both closed down, unfortunately. So we've lost those pies now. They don't exist. There we go. It's not bad, is it? No, there's no shaky shake stuff going on there. Right, I'm gonna make a start. It could be pretty hot, to be fair. So I'm gonna go in there, have a look. Oh, nice. First bite of a pie is always good. Okay, pen is ready. We're only on cold coffee now. Maybe Mrs. Mechanic, if she's listening. She might be listening. She might bring me a fresh coffee. Who knows? We've been going an hour and 8 minutes, near enough. Time flies, doesn't it? Nice. It's a little bit hot, but it's actually quite tasty. Now, it does have the puff pastry on the top, which of course is going to make a mess of the bench. Or your car, if you're going to eat it in the car, which is, it's never advisable, to be fair. Pies are, they're never great in cars. You've got to have really good pie management skills when you eat pie in the car. That's if you're bothered about getting crumbs on the floor, to be fair. Daniel, because I had a lawnmower that was, Andy, I just made some spaghetti and meat sauce. Nice. Too bad I don't have some garlic bread to go. Garlic bread's nice. I love garlic bread. It gives me heartburn these days, though. I have to eat garlic bread and drink Gaviscon at the same time. Sort of spoils the effect a little bit. Oh, right. There's your mince. It's not too bad, actually. So we're going to start some scores. I've not come across any cheese yet, but I think there's a little bit infused in the meat on is it your left, on my right. So taste stroke flavour. I'm getting a lot of pastry flavour, I must admit, but I have just hacked my way into the pie. So I'm going to give it, for a mince pie, I'm going to give it a 7. It's actually not bad. Structure 40 partners. Well, we'll leave that for a little bit. Runnability test. We could one more bite and we could try that actually. Okay. It's pretty hot. 45 degrees, 30 seconds. Here we go. Boom. It's definitely 45 degrees. I am seeing some movement. Very, very slow movement. And it is only mince, not steak, so it's a bit more fluid. Is it going to hang in there? Fingers are burning. Fingers are burning. Really hot. Really, really hot. Are we going to see a dribble? It's doing pretty well. It's just hanging in there, to be fair, but it is definitely slowly coming out. I don't want to lose any because it's quite tasty. Okay. I'm going to give that, because there is some movement, eight or nine. I mean, there's dribbles. I'll give it an 8. I think an 8's fair. Runnability test, 8. It's not rock steady, that's for sure. Meat quality. It's actually not bad meat. I mean, I've not had any gristly bits yet. And for mince, that's pretty good going. Okay. Well, again, I've got to score it as a mince pie. I'm going to give it a 9. I think it's pretty good. I mean, that might change if we find a gristly bit further on. Then obviously I'll drop it down. Now, pastry to filling ratio is the next one. So I'm just going to bring the lid back up because it gets squashed down when you're eating it. So that's what we're looking at cross-section wise. There is quite a bit of pastry down here. It's constantly dropping bits of pastry on the floor. And again, quite a big chunk on this side as well. I want to get rid of that bit. There we go. So the base is quite thin, but there's a distinct dual layer going on the base. It's quite hard for the first sort of mill, and then you've got sort of gooey pastry above that. There you go, like you can see it a bit more clear now. But it's not uncooked pastry. I'm not trying to say that, but it's and the bottom bit, probably from my pie warmer actually, it's a little bit on the I was gonna say it's burnt, but it's very dry. It's lost a lot of its moisture. But it's only the very sort of bottom surface of the base. So anyway, I waffle. Pie to crust ratio. Out of 10, I'm going to give it. The lid's pretty thin. I'm going to give it an 8. I'll give it an 8. It's not that bad. Now, availability logistics. You can buy these from Countdown supermarkets. We've already found that out this morning from one of the viewers. And quite a few dairies stock them as well in this area. You don't see them all across New Zealand, that's for sure. But because you can buy them at Countdown, pardon me, there's a burp. Because you can get them at Countdown, you can also order them online, which is great. Another burp. 2 burps, so we're down to 8 already for the heartburn aspect, because burps to me always tally with heartburn later on. Unless I'm drinking. So, I don't think it's available across the whole country. So, and you can't order them online through the pie company. They don't do online orders. So I'll give it a 6. I'll give it a 6. If you can get them all over the country, then I'll give it a 10. Pastry taste rating. Well, let's find a bit of pastry first. Okay, there's a little bit. It really tastes just like pastry. It's not seasoned in any way. It's a little bit crunchy. It's all right. It's a very flaky pie. So we'll take that into account on the structure for Foley Partners. Pastry taste rating, 6. They could have given it some kind of seasoning, I suppose. Still tasty when cold. I think it'd be all right cold, actually. I mean, I prefer steak pies cold, steak and cheese, rather than mince and cheese cold, but I think it would be all right. The meat's actually really good quality. I mean, look at that. Looking good, you know, for a mince pie. Cheese. Nice. So I will give it, I'll give it an 8 for still tasty when cold. If I had this in my glove box for a couple of days, I wouldn't think twice about eating it. I would definitely wolf it down if I was hungry. No problems at all. Right. Packaging design. So, very, very distinctive packaging. Their branding is really, really clear. Wander into a supermarket or a dairy and you spot that, you know exactly who made the pie. It's very, very clear. Maketu Pies. Honest to goodness. Registered trademark. 200 grams, so it's about the average size of a New Zealand pie. It's paper. It's not got any, nope, there's no plastic film on the inside, so it is just a paper bag, but it's been printed up nicely and themed, so they're obviously very proud of their pies. The design itself, there's a lot of information on the back, and it's also fully recyclable. Oh, hang on, what's going on there? There we go, it's better. Right, so we've got lots of information, nutritional help, and recyclable sign and stuff. So I think they've done a pretty good job with that. It hasn't got a window, so one thing it hasn't got, you can't actually see the product. So we'll knock a point off for that, but we'll give them 9. That's not bad. Now, recyclable score. It is fully recyclable, it's just paper, and it's got the symbol on the bag as well, so they get 10 out of 10 for that one. They're going to do pretty well, these guys, I think, on this one. Post-pie heartburn factor, we're down to 8 at the moment. That might change. Now, stuffability score. I need to finish the pie. Oh my word, hang on. Where do we get to? Scrolling back. Geez, you guys have been busy here. Here we go. Simon, I think you need to find a meteorologist. I think so. Daniel, Simon, Orca blacksmith. Or a blacksmith. Good idea. I think it's probably maybe a bit too technical for a blacksmith though. What I need to know. I need to quantify it. Wade Mayer. The high temperature and oil quench hardens the surface used in case hardening. I wonder if comparing the hardness between a new and torched drum would give you a number that makes sense. I have got a hardness tester, a very accurate one, so we could try that. And I'm pretty sure I've got a couple of drums here that are burnt. Daniel, Wade, I guess you could also do a Rockwell study too. I have no idea what that is. Purple Monkey 1974. Talking of oil, I had my 2006 Honda Jazz for 3 years now. Never changed the engine oil. Oh dear. And it's not lost a drop or changed colour, and it's still golden. Question, do I still need to change it? Yes! Yes, you do! Yes! I mean, yes, it might look good, right? I did a video on I'm pretty sure it was a Honda Jazz engine actually, a few years ago. The most popular video on my YouTube channel, where the engine failed. It's 75,000 kilometers on without an oil change, and eventually just blew up. Basically, I think it knocked out a big end from memory. Can't remember which one it was, but it's in the video, and it really highlighted all the damage, starting from the head, camshafts, and so on. Worked our way all the way down, looking at all the various damage that had occurred. Ultimately, the oil had degraded so much that the engine started to burn the oil level then depleted, and of course it got to a critical point where it couldn't cool the components and lubricate them properly, and the engine just demised pretty quick. Of course, the customer decided to try and put some fresh oil in, and that would fix the problem, and clearly it didn't. So quite an interesting video. And yeah, oil's cheap. Just do an oil change. It's been a good little engine to you for years. Give it an oil change. Give it some love. There's nothing worse than destroying a good engine for just because of lack of oil changes. Daniel, to find out how hard the oil quenching process made the metal. Yes. But it might not just be the hardness that's changed. Ooh, hang on. We've got something going on here. Coffee, bear with me. Oh, thanks, honey. Did you get rid of the spiders? I came to make a coffee this morning, and this little tiny sort of tan-coloured spider popped out my cup just after I put the sugar in. And I was like, what the hell? So I got rid of the sugar, washed my cup out, and made my coffee then, because I don't want to be eating spiders. It's not good. But yeah, it might not just be the hardness of the metal. It might be the fact that there's oil infused in it in the surface is affecting the coefficient of friction as well. But good idea, and something that I can do. Kavoka Designs. Change it. Colour has nothing to do with the particles inside it. Anything on the magnet? Good question. You need a magnetic drain plug. They're always a good idea. All the Suzukis I've worked on have had those magnetic drain plugs. Daniel, Purple Monkey 874. That also depends on the mileage or kilometres you put on it. Sheldon, oil usually changes colour due to the hydrocarbons from the fuel. Yeah, contaminants getting in there. Purple Monkey 1974. I haven't dropped the oil, so I wouldn't know. Need to drop the oil. Daniel Bennell. Project Farm YouTube channel always shows you a video of that as well. You ask what happens if you don't change your engine oil. That's right. Kavoka Designs, metal shavings I'm referring to. Purple Monkey 1974. 3,000 miles a year. Daniel. No, it's not a plug for Project Farm necessarily. It's just that he posts very interesting videos at his own personal cost. I do find his videos very interesting. Some of them, there's the odd one that you go, yeah, not interested in that. But the way he tests things and analyzes stuff, yeah, it is interesting. It makes for good viewing. When was the vehicle made, Purple Monkey? 1974. Funny. Sheldon, 10,000 kilometers is pretty much maximum between changes as far as I'm concerned using a high-grade oil. You see my Ranger, Ford Ranger, Ute, 15,000 Ks by the book. And on a new Ranger, one of the lads at work got one, there's no first service. What the hell? Comes out of the box, goes out on the road, 15,000 kilometers before the factory filled oil comes out of the engine. Wow. Really? Not on my Rangers. Sheldon, some manufacturers are stretching out interval times to 15 to 20,000 kilometers, but I think 10,000 is enough for an oil unless it's AMSOIL. That's a different story. Service intervals is a big thing in marketing now, you know, and customer expectations, and people do, you know, they see it as an advantage if it's got a longer service interval. Maybe in the public's eye, it's going to cost them less to run it. Whether that service interval has been dictated more by the marketing team than the engineers that design the engine is a whole different matter. I wouldn't want to run a vehicle for that long on the same oil. And like I said before, oil's cheap. It's you know, an insurance policy for your engine. It looks after it. There's plenty of motorcycles out there that have got a 10,000k service interval, but I know for a fact that if you do an interim oil change at 5,000 k's, by the time you get to 30, 40,000 k's, the one that's had the interim oil changes, so every 5,000, not every 10,000, the engine's a whole lot quieter. So it definitely has an effect. So I agree with Sheldon. You know, regular oil changes are important. Ben's got a WR450F. It's done 24,000 kilometers, which is a long way for one of those bikes. A lot of it's road use. It's currently in super motard spec. He does an oil change every 1,000 kilometers. Still on the original top end build. It's never had the top end stripped. The shims, the valve clearance is getting close to needing to be done, but it's still within spec, and there's no piston slap, which is pretty amazing when you see this. The shape of the piston, the skirt on those things is tiny. Very high performance piston, not the most high performance. That's in the motocross variant of the bike, but even so, a testament to just how well those bikes were built. It's a 2012 model, by the way. I have the same bike, but mine's only about 4,000 k's. I never get time to ride it, unfortunately, and it needs a fork seal and a new battery and a new front tire or back tire. I don't know. I'll get round to it. Been too busy. Purple Monkey 1974. I'll get onto it. Good man. Peer pressure, right? Simon, that's odd for an old Honda. Tend to be oil burners when the miles go up. Well, he's been lucky, and he needs to, you know, do an oil change. Give it some love. Sheldon, he'll probably do the oil change and it'll start burning oil. You wait. Sheldon, Rockwell is hardness testing. Ah, okay. I hadn't heard of the Rockwell one. Purple Monkey 1974. I worked to the Brindle scale. It's at 85,000 miles. Yeah, it's not done that many miles really. Then it's still got plenty of life in it, and I think, you know, in fact, the one we stripped down, it had done about 100. Christ, how far? I think it was about 150, 160,000 k's. I really can't really remember. And you could still see the cross hatchings where on the cylinders. Unbelievably good, to be honest. I was very impressed. Sheldon, if you've ever changed the oil on an LPG powered vehicle, the oil comes out looking like it went in, unlike petrol and diesel fuel vehicles. So you get a lot less contaminants with LPG then. I'm not that familiar with LPG. We had a few Range Rovers come through the site that have been LPG converted in the UK, and they were shit to start. They were horrible to drive off road. And there was a friend here in New Zealand had one. It was a Mitsubishi Shogun, I would have called it. I think they're called something else different over here. And it blew the airbox apart. So he never used LPG again. He just replaced the airbox and ran it on petrol. Purple Monkey, here we go. Purple Monkey 1974 was using a Vauxhall van from new. First service was 20,000 miles. And then every 20,000 miles. Wow. Daniel, in my 1992 Chevrolet Silverado 5.7 litre, 9.5 litres of oil, and I used GTX 5W30 high mileage at every 5,000 miles. About one oil change per month. Wow, that's a lot of oil changes. But hey, it's going to look after your engine, that's for sure. Simon, I always think the first 5 oil changes done early make a massive difference. Make a massive difference, I think you mean. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, like I keep saying it, oil's cheap. Just give it an oil change. It's not hard. Daniel, yes, that's right. I have a 4-bolt main with a deep oil pan and an oil cooler for the engine oil. Perfect setup. Simon, That's the thing with diesel. To turn the key and the oil goes black. It does. Diesel engine oil, the old stuff, when it comes out, it's really nasty. If you get on your skin, oh, it takes ages. It seems to leach into your skin, even if after you've washed your arm. You can still see it in the pores. It's horrible stuff. I remember changing the oil in our Patron a couple of times, and it would, you're under the oil filter, and it would run down your arm. Not nice at all. So, I need to do the pie. We deviated. So, stuffability score. I've finished the pie. Am I stuffed? Yeah. I'm not hungry anymore. I'm enjoying my coffee, don't get me wrong, but I think it's done a good job. Am I over full? No. It gets 10. Good job. Well done. And no, they're not a sponsor. Pie server attractiveness. Well, Mrs. Mechanic did mention this yesterday when I asked her when she bought the pie. And I think we're going to give her going to give the young lady. She made Mrs. Mechanic feel very welcome. She was very happy and bubbly. She was a new worker at the place, so she was sort of concentrating on what she had to do. So we can offset that a little bit, put that to one side. I'm going to give her a 7, I think. I think a 7's fair. Mrs. Mechanic might reel me in and say you should have given her more. But I wasn't there. I don't know. Now, structure Foley partners. Yeah, it's got to lose some points for all that puff pastry. It's all over the floor, literally all over the floor, all over the bench. But the pie itself stayed together. So I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. And I think we have to knock a couple of points off the amount of puff pastry that was lost and contaminated my workshop. Right, we need to do some sums. Bear with me. Okay, let's get the camera sorted out. Hopefully the cigarette won't burn itself out. Right. Okay, turn you around. 3, 2, 1, boom. There we go. Okay, some arithmetic coming up. Let's see if we can get this right. So, 15, 23, 32, 40, 46, 52, that's an easy one, 60, 69, 79, 87, 90, oh my word, 97, wow, 104, jeez, that's very high. That actually is a very good pie. Didn't think it was going to score that high. Okay, so we've got, let's get rid of all the bits, a Maketu, or Maketu, mince and cheese, which is not my first choice of pie, to be fair. It was very nice. Probably one of the best mince and cheese pies I've ever had, to be fair. Now it was 200 grams, so I'll put that in there. And it was just very tasty. It was very tasty, a good meat in it. It was relatively readily available, and they got all the packaging right. That's why they scored so highly. 104. Wow. If I've got my sums wrong, let me know, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Okay. Keep the cigarette going. Okay, let's go and find out where this is going to be on the board. Here we go. 104. Who would have thought? That's really high. Whoa, it's there, isn't it? Look, it's with this lot, so we'll have to stick it on there for now. I need to make some more space. Jeez, we've got a lot to move. Oh. You can tell some of these haven't been moved for a while. It's not often we get a pie that high up. Oh, we're getting there, slowly but surely. 104. So it comes in second place, equal second place. There we go. So look at that. It's Joint second with the KK Cafe and Bakery steak, bacon and cheese. Super tasty. Big chunks of meat. I remember that one. Lamb's Pie steak and cheese and bacon. Very tasty. Wild Bean Cafe gourmet Angus beef. Black truffle version. 104. Very tasty. Maketu mince and cheese. That's the one we just done. Very tasty. 104. And it just pipped the post from the New World pork and apple from the deli. Very expensive though. So this one's quite cheap. They're not an expensive pie. Wow, good job. Okay, back to the bench. Turn you around. 3, 2, 1, boom. There we go. Okay, we are 1 hour and 35 minutes in. We run a little bit over time. Sorry, people. We'll be signing off very shortly, I'm sure. Let's see where we got to. Right. Daniel, Andy, did you know that the Chevrolet made a version of the 5.7 for both liquid propane and gas propane, LPN and GPN? Wow, didn't know that. Purple Monkey, I thought it was funny this week. Virgin did eco fuel in their plane and still the eco mob weren't happy because the amount of crop required not sustainable. Seems you just can't win. You can't win. Oh, hang on. We're all over the place. That's a bit better, isn't it? There we go. That works. Okay. No, you can't win. They just don't want planes, cars, lawnmowers, weed whackers, whatever it is. They just don't want them, basically. It'd be quite interesting when they finally come to the conclusion that electric cars are also bad for the environment. But at the moment, they're still fighting that game. Daniel, I've even seen videos of people making kits to make the vehicles run off. I believe it was nitrogen. Nitrogen? Really? Okay. Never heard about that before. Purple Monkey, high score plus points from packaging. Yes, it did very well on the packaging, to be fair. Wade Mayer, what happened with the mill motor? Well, the milling machine lost a substantial amount of its torque output from the motor. I was busy drilling some countersinks the other week for the workstation, the first one, and I noticed that the chuck was slowing right down and actually stalling at some points, but the motor was stopping as well. It wasn't the belt slip that I thought it was. It's not good at all. So something's happened. We think it could be just be the brushes, but I've got to take the motor off and inspect it and have a little look. I've not had time to do it yet. I'm just working around that problem at the moment. Kavoka Designs, Nitro chainsaws are sick. I've never used a Nitro chainsaw, to be fair. Well, crew, I think we're about there, actually. Any more questions before we sign off? Oh, Kevin's just popped in. Morning, Kevin. Morning, Andy and crew. Sorry I'm late. That's okay. You can have a couple of minutes. How's that, Kevin? Any questions? How's life? What are you up to? Oh, that's a good coffee. Well done, Mrs. Mechanic. And hopefully there's no spiders in it. I spotted one of these little spiders the other day and I was like, oh, that's odd. But he wasn't in a cup. He was just running across the shelf. But then there was one in my cup this morning. Obviously, I got rid of him before I made my coffee, but it wasn't good. Purple Monkey, next video. Yes, the next video will be, I just finished it yesterday. It took me 3 days to film it because fabrication videos they're not the most entertaining, to be fair. Not my videos anyway. So I tried to cover a lot of work in the one video to try and, when I edit it up, try and, make it reasonably fast paced. There will be one more video in the series for the workstation build, and I'll be starting to film that probably today. And that will, the end of that video could be a few weeks away because that's going to include the finished product and installed in the office. So that, there's still a lot of work to do, and I've got to spray everything and things. So that's a bit of a chore, but we'll get there in the end. I might film taking the motor out of the mill and having a look, see what's wrong with that, just for interest's sake, so you can all see what's going on with it. It might need a new motor. It might be that we can get the old motor refurbished. I don't know yet. That's all possible. I'd like to keep the original motor because I like the old stuff. New motors tend to be a bit cheap and nasty, you know, and also very expensive to buy if you want a good one. So we'll see how things pan out. As regards other videos, I've got a few in my mind that are written down somewhere. The Triumph is on hold. Alan's still sourcing the parts. There won't be any movement on that until early part of next year now. On the go-kart, just there, look, the go-kart videos. We've got the pipe, the thicker wall pipe for the main part of the frame. So as soon as the workstations are finished, whilst I'm still in engineering mode, we will switch straight back onto the go-kart. So I'll probably do some work on that just before Christmas and over the Christmas break. So you should see a few more videos come through then. But saying that, I also want to get the roof put on the workshop as well. So the second roof, it's a dual roof workshop shortly. We're going to have a gap between the old roof and the new roof that's going to be about a foot above it, approximately. It'll be a single gradient roof that we're putting above the two halves. That side of the workshop is actually an A-pitched roof, and this side is just I think it's about a 7-degree, I think, from memory, pitch on the roof. So obviously there'll be a bigger gap between the new roof and this roof on this end, and in the middle where it goes over the A-pitch, there'll maybe only be a few inches. But all in all, the idea is it'll make the place waterproof because we've got when it rains hard, we get a few drips coming in, which doesn't help. But the main reason for doing it is to keep the heat down in the workshop. It gets ridiculously hot in this workshop in the summertime. It's helped a lot building the carport and keeping the sunshine off the main doors, the steel doors. But if we can do the same with the roof as well, I think it'd be a lot better, a lot more pleasant environment to work in, and a one-off cost. It's not like putting aircon in where you're constantly spending money trying to keep the place cool. So I think it's a win-win, to be fair. And all up, the steel work, or the steel sheet for the roof, was about $2,000, just under, including the screws, and then probably about the same again for the timber. So it's going to cost me about maybe $5,000 to do it, which sounds like a lot of money, but materials are really expensive here in New Zealand now, and it's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Now then, where we get to Simon. There's a guy who ports two-stroke garden tools on YouTube. Really? That's classic. Kevin, just trying to repair an old Acorn BBC master computer from the 80s. Wow, that's quite different to what you normally do. And I remember using an Acorn BBC computer at school when I was a child. That's a long time ago. Daniel Bedell, that's a link to one of the videos that I was talking about where they made nitrogen fuel cells. Shit. Wade Mayer. Personally, I like the fab videos. Well, thanks, Wade. I appreciate that. There's a lot of time taken filming fabrication videos. It's not an easy task filming them by any means. A lot harder than just a basic repair video on a motorbike or something. So there is a lot of work goes on and even editing it up, trying to get it to flow. There's a bit of work goes in, so I'm pleased that some of you do enjoy them. Purple Monkey, 2 weeks needed to tidy the office first. We have to empty the office first. We have to completely empty it, and there's a lot of junk in there. There really is a lot of stuff. It's not all junk, but there's a lot of stuff. Smiley face. Connor K, paint the roof white or another light color so it reflects the sunlight. That will help it keep cooler. Fortunately, Connor, it's zinc sheeting, so it's very, very shiny. And even the carport that we did in the same stuff is still very shiny. It does naturally reflect a lot of the heat anyway, so I don't need to paint it. I can just leave it the zinc finish and it'll be just fine. But no, very good point. Daniel, check out Adrian's digital basement. He does restoration of computers. and old Commodores, such as the old Commodores and whatnot. I used to have an old Commodore 64 when I was a kid. That was my home computer. I was very privileged because they were quite rare back then. I did break it a couple of times though. I had to go away for repair, but I had a couple of tape decks for it, so I could copy games. Shh, don't tell anybody. I had a printer, I had a dot matrix printer. I had all sorts of stuff. It was really cool, and lots of games for it. I was very lucky. I used to be well into my computers back then. I'm not really into them. I just see them as a tool now, whereas back then it was a fun thing, as a kid. Anyway, crew, I think we're about there. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us at the end. And, well, I will see you all next time. Remember, for those that have just joined us, my Instagram account has been hacked. So if you see any posts on my Instagram account go out, it's not me. It's somebody else. Some intruder trying to get you to do Bitcoin. And it's not me recommending it. So, and no, I didn't buy a new Mercedes car. Hopefully, at some point, I might be able to regain control of my Instagram account, but it's not a priority for me at the moment. When I get time, I'll look into it. My Facebook is still mine, and of course, my emails do still work. So you can always send me an email, andymechanic@live.co.uk as well. Don't forget to click the like button, and I will see you again for another live stream in 2 weeks' time, which will be the 17th. I think it's the 3rd today, isn't it? Yes, it'll be the 17th of December. Just before Christmas. Okay, crew. Well, we'll see you next time. Cheers. Over and out.